All right, I want to show you what the markets are thinking, that there's more to this than just meets the eye. This is more than just a passing phenomenon. They seem to be betting that the once sort of totally unthinkable, totally not going to happen prospect of a Trump victory is now looking more likely. Now, why would they be down on that? Well, because it's the unknown. It's unexpected. It's not the kind of thing they can factor in. These guys like certainty, and they're like Rainman with certainty. I mean, it's definitely got to do this, definitely got to do that. And they don't understand when it doesn't go to script. Charles Payne reminds me of that. Trish Regan reminds me of that. Market watcher extraordinaire Bob Wiedemer reminds me of that. Trish, what do you think? That the markets now have to adjust to something they didn't see coming?
Yeah, they're getting a little nervous, as you point out. It's unexpected. If Hillary Clinton were to win, investors are looking at it like this. Okay, nothing's really going to change. We're going to continue off in no man's land in terms of the economy barely growing.
What she's about, right?
And the Fed will have to keep being as accommodative as it has been. And you'll continue to have this messed up Washington. And we know what messed up Washington does or doesn't do, for that matter.
I think these guys like messed up.
They like messed up Washington, of course, because nothing gets done. And so that gridlock means the Fed is the only game in town. You're in this sugar high environment, and the markets move higher. So we know, or investors know, what theoretically would happen under Hillary Clinton. Now, Donald Trump marches into town. He's talking about all kinds of different things, right? He's talking about penalizing American companies that decide to relocate offshore to Mexico or to China. And, you know, that just presents a whole other set of facts for investors.
No, I think you're right about that. But let me ask you, Charles, I know you and I have gotten into this as well, this notion that, let's say Donald Trump does pull off something just incredible, wins this thing. The markets, I think you said, knee-jerk tank on that, right?
Sure.
And then what?
And then it's sort of wait and see. And you know, the market surprises. You know, 4 years ago when President Obama won, a lot of people sold everything and said they would never go back into the market, and consequently they missed a 240% move in the NASDAQ, 120% move in the Dow, and almost a 200% move in S&P. Listen, Donald Trump's core economic policies naturally make Wall Street happy. Less regulations, lower taxes. It's the stuff Trish was talking about. Do you really go to war with Ford? Okay. In that same town in Mexico, Honda opened a plant 2 years ago. They spent $800 million. It's 200,000 square feet, and they punch out those those little bitty cars. There's no way Ford's going to be able to compete with them. So they're boxed in one way or the other. Ultimately, stocks move up, ultimately because of earnings.
Yeah, and ultimately because if you have a healthier economy, then you've got a healthier middle class, a middle class that can spend more. And so that should be overall, and will be, if that comes to pass, a good thing for the stock market. I mean, you're right. I mean, you don't want to bet against the American stock market because time's on your side. We are going to continue to prosper as a nation. But these economic policies are really going to cause earnings to come into focus in some of these multinational companies. No,
I think it's a lot of things change. But, Bob, a lot of it could also be some of them holding back and saying we could still see Hillary Clinton winning. Well, as long as the House or the Senate don't fall her way, because then she'd have free ride to do anything she wanted. Now, they don't quite know what to make of where we are, but what do you read into all of this?
Yeah, I think clearly that it'd still be a surprise if Trump won. I mean, I think right now they're viewing that as less likely than Brexit. Of course, look and see what happened with Brexit, right? They were wrong.
Good point.
And the market went down on Brexit, but then it also went up afterwards. So I think it's a little hard to say exactly where we're going. I think Trish is right that the market likes to see more of the same. It's comfortable. But at the same time, you know, there's some fragility out there in the economy, out in the world economy. You're seeing trade at lows. You're seeing South Korea just did a bailout of their shipping companies because they're not selling anything. So, I mean, there's fragility out there, oil prices, et cetera, that I think throw this whole thing into question. But yeah, I mean, they didn't think Brexit would happen, so
yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, do we still understate that Trump support out there? Is it like Brexit, that even with these improving numbers, it's still not grasping?
That was a popular vote, right? And I think that, you know, this is an electoral college. So Donald Trump can win more votes than Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton can be president. So that's a dynamic that changes the whole thing.
We have something like that?
Wow.
Well, I mean,
that
wouldn't be the first time.
A lot of people to be.
It wouldn't
be the first time, but you would see a lot of not actual unrest, but frustration, I think, if that were the case.
What if it's bigger?
And not good for the market, I think, in that case.
But, Bob, what if it's bigger? What if it's actually a Trump landslide?
Well, then I think you could see, again, sort of like Brexit, I think the market's caught off guard. They maybe go down initially, but on the other hand, they may come back up. As you said, you then have a non-divided government.
Guys. No one would have predicted. You weren't even born. What am I saying?
Well, the Cubbies and Indians are in the final game of the World Series tonight.
You're right about that. But Charles, no one saw, 36 years ago this week, polls that were dead even or close to it, favoring Jimmy Carter, actually, for the most part, would end up in a 10-point Ronald Reagan landslide.
Right.
So I'm wondering if things are shifting so fast, we're just not appreciating it.
There's something to be said for momentum. There's also something to be said for the deluge of polls that we have coming at us. Oh, my goodness. There are tracking polls. There are polls that are done by Republican consultants and Democratic consultants.
One organization has a poll of polls.
I try to keep up with them. I'm losing my mind. I just see numbers everywhere. So I will say one thing to the audience. So ultimately, you buy great American companies, and if they're on sale for an artificial reason like Donald Trump becoming the president, then that's an even better reason to buy him.
Sure. I mean, the market may go through some kind of adjustment period if he were to win, just because it's like, oh my goodness, we didn't expect this. Here we are. But I think ultimately, you're right. And you don't bet against America's future, because if you do, you'll be proven wrong.
As you remind me, Bob, some of our greatest companies started in the worst of environments, right?
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And not only started, but sometimes, like Caterpillar, they got through the Depression and came out and did gangbusters. So, absolutely.
Guys, I want to thank you all, guys, Trish as well.
Thank you.
Again.